ReZero, Season 2, Episode 16. Oh, a Scar flashback. Maybe this is the episode where I can finally start to feel something for him. I need a Garf backstory. Real bad. Is that how he got his scar? From himself? Somehow that makes it more tragic. Don't do that. There it is. Now you have a reminder of the time that you hated yourself. What did that to you, young Garf? He did, and you're welcome. Yeah, that does suck. It does hurt. And he touches his head, touches his scar. No one is on his side. He has no one.
Garfiel, あなた、何をそんなに怖がってるの?
Speaking of being in a framework that loops into being very delicate, yeah, he's terrified. And his particular flavor of that loop is he's afraid to look weak, maybe because he's afraid he is weak. So it feels like he lashes out and puts on a strong, he thinks, really it's more angry front, which has the unintended consequence of making him look weaker. So Amelia asking what he's afraid of is a knife in the heart, because I'm trying not to look afraid. And I can't admit that I'm afraid, because that would reveal what I'm hiding. And so I'm going to lash out, which makes you look more afraid. Me? Oh no, I'm not afraid of anything.
まだ何をしなくちゃいけないのかはちゃんと分かれてない。その何かを私は見つけなくちゃいけないの。
This already sounds a lot better. It's more positive. It's not confined to a fate of being terrible.
外の世界にここの人たちの居場所を作るために、お前は中で何をしてたんだ。自分を捨てた母親と母親を奪っていった外の世界が憎いから。
Is that it? I don't know if that's it. I would be lying if I said I had some insight into Garf's character and his motivations. But I think there's been some clues that he doesn't hate his mother at all. He might want to see the trial be completed, but I don't know. Maybe he'll feel like a failure if he's not the one to do it. Also, it's possible there could be elements of both. It could be that he wants to complete the trial and feels like that's his responsibility and worries about his own self-worth in this whole thing, but also is very used to this system and feels he understands it and so is afraid of what it means to complete it. He's protecting a lot. This is fair. I mean, there's definitely more constructive things we could be doing. I don't think he hates his family, though. I think this is like crushing weight of responsibility and duty that he can't affect. This is already better. This is already so much better. It's okay if you are. I mean... Oh. It's awful. It couldn't have gotten any worse. It couldn't have been worse in any way. There's no way to even explain it. That would have been a lot easier, yeah. So is that what it is? It's don't go out because the world is dangerous? Change is bad? This is not a reason for all this. Honestly, I don't really know what to make of this except that it's very sad. And that it feels like he's not really protecting other people. That's the stated intention or cause. Really, it just feels like he hasn't coped with the loss of his mother in two different ways. A weird thought that just popped into my mind is that in some way he became his mother, or like a motherly figure in the sense that he just wants everyone at home safe, you know? Don't go out there, the world is dangerous. Or at any rate, he's carrying something that is not really him. It's some warped lesson he got as a result of being a child that he hasn't been able to wrap his mind around yet. He still feels like the same lost child. He needs protecting. He's like the people in Attack on Titan who, like, just don't want to go beyond the wall. Can you just stop? Let her help. I mean, I don't know. Well, he is big.
ありがとうな。
Have we been leveled up through all our encounters with the witches? Whoa. Oh, it's the pendant.
その中にとんでもなく腹ペコな猫でも入ってるんじゃないか。
僕のアシストはここまでだよ。
口聞けないなら口聞けないで、ピカピカやかましいやつだ。
These crystals are also hella confusing to me. They seem to do so many things. I guess Puck imbued it with some special power this time. I guess they're like power holders or something. They can be formed with particular magic.
俺たちは外の世界へ行く。エミリアは墓所に挑む。聖域は開かれる。お前が望まなくても。誰が頼んだ？誰が許した？
A lot of people.
ずっとこのままなんてあるわけねえだろ。
Yeah,
俺
right.
たち全員に追い込まれてる
You
みたい
can't ward off tragedy by keeping everyone in the same place. There are rabbits very, very close that are coming.
数の力を思い知れ。もっと他に言い方があんだろや。
This stubbornness. That's so defeating. Yeah, I'll be done too. Alright, whatever you say, Subaru. Oh god, he just spit out a tooth?
また顔を上げて歩き出すの。誰がどうして諦めろなんて言えるんだ。そうだろ、ガーフィール。そうだろ、エミリア。
Isn't that right, Subaru? He just doesn't quit. What is this? What is activating? Oh, we unlocked a new power, which looks like Beetlegoose's power. I mean, I think it was great and timely. Oh, except for that part. That was not so glamorous. I mean, he's got everything at stake. He's got nothing else. He's built this whole complex web of his own fragile life. He's protecting himself. I think you could probably push him over now. Time for the number one hero. This is revenge, too, for what you did to me. Ultimate hero, Pastrache. Yeah, exactly this. I remember. No one does that to Pastrache and gets away with it. It's time for you to lick your wounds and to rethink things. Then you extend a hand to Garfield. Alright, you're broken. Now get back up, and I'm on your side. This one I think I also can understand. What does Amelia think about all this? Amelia just watching this all happen. You would think, right? Yeah, it's really cool thinking that people can't even see it. He looks invincible. It's high praise for Garfield. Why does everyone punch each other so much? Or headbutt? I guess that was also revenge for those forest punches from Otto. Yeah, people forget about Pastrache way too much, man. These sound effects always get me. Oh, he died. Oh, he gets a lap. You get a lap, and you get a lap. Time for a new beginning, as Otto said. You need to stop it. Stop all this. Ram actually would make a good mother figure. Can you, though? Ram has a particular flavor of nice. You need to start over. I'll do the thinking for you now. Until you've proven you can do it on your own. Thanks, Mom. For now. That's why you must follow. That would be interesting if Garf could do it. Wow, that really nailed it. Yeah, he's just stuck, right? It's a weird thing too, because sometimes you find you are the biggest defender of your own misery. It's like that concept of the prisoners being the wardens, but you're all by yourself and you're doing the whole thing alone. You know, you have this standard of things being terrible that maybe actually comes from something real that you've experienced. Like what happened with Garf's mother was terrible. So of course it's natural that your childhood brain came up with a flawed rationale as to what happened and to what it means. Well, I guess any move I make is dangerous, and if I step over any line at all, the world just comes crashing down on my head. So I better just try to keep everything exactly as I know it all the time, which is fine. But then if it doesn't update, your whole conception and outlook and your potential for life is dictated by your childhood view of the world. Sometimes I'll have conversations where people are expressing their worries about their life or the world, and it strikes me that there's a negative reading being too broadly applied. But to challenge the assumptions is precarious, because it's not that they've arrived at this idea through solid reasoning. It's more like those conclusions form the premise from which they're reasoning. Anything like things are terrible, people are against me, people are terrible, everything I do goes wrong. There will be reasons constructed to enforce that, but those assumptions are the foundation of the entire thing. And if there's that level of emotional response, it's not just like an exploration or inquisition into the state of life or people. It's probably a defense mechanism that was learned through some painful experience or experiences and was formed on the basis of like, I have to be really careful for my own survival, because if I don't, if I treat people as being trustworthy, or if I believe things can be good, then I'll just be randomly and arbitrarily crushed. So people will fight to defend that, because somewhere along the way, they internalize that as being fundamental for their survival. And these knots run so tight and they get so interwoven. It's not even really something that can be pulled apart from the outside. The person basically has to have a breakdown and give it up and realize that it's not serving them. As an outsider, it gets to the point where it's like, if you're determined to be convinced about this, I can't convince you otherwise. And also, it's not even really fair for you to have the complaint or ask the question, because you've already decided that this is the way, and you don't like your own methodology, as made evident by the fact that things are just not working out the way you want them to. And I don't just mean once, right? Like freak things that go wrong, meeting bad people, of course that happens, right? But if it's like a perpetual pattern where you're doing it this way and you get the same result, and it's been 20 years, you know, it's very likely that it's an input from you, especially if you have counter evidence like, oh, these people seem to be flourishing, or these people seem to be doing well. We live in the same world. What's that about? So you have these complaints, you have this deep problem, you have this gripe against the world, but you're unwilling to revisit the assumptions that create the behavior that are undermining any chance you could have at having a different outcome. And then you're taking the bad outcomes you're getting as a result of your behavior flowing from your faulty premise, and you're reinforcing your own premise. In many cases, it's a loop of one's own making, and no one can save you from that. You just have to break at some point. You have to let that go and realize you don't actually understand. People probably aren't against you. I mean, people probably don't even think about you. It's better and worse than you think simultaneously. Life isn't necessarily against you. Life just doesn't really care about you. But silver lining, there's a lot more you can do with that. You have a lot more freedom than you think. The outcome is not as determined as it seems. Garfiel is doing all these things. He's trying to affect the world, but stemming from this place of everything just goes wrong. I'm terrible. I'm worth discarding. If I stay exactly where I am, nothing bad can happen. While also knowing that's not true, which is where the anxiety comes from. As is often the case with these sort of loops. It's like you simultaneously hate it, but don't know how to let it go. It's like, yeah, you gotta do something different with it. You're just going in circles or standing still.
まあ大丈夫よ、ガーフ。泣くほど怖い目にあったら、ラムが慰めてあげるわ。古い付き合いのよしみで。ね。
This is... Who is this? This is the most friendly I've seen Ram ever. It's kind of disgusting. I don't know how to handle it. Somebody should also tell him that... I mean, you might fail, and that's alright, because you can keep going. Like, you don't have this realization and then just emerge perfectly formed. You're starting over. This is a lot to confront. Maybe we can let it go. Garf honestly was the last person I expected to be the one to complete the trial, but that would be great. Oh, he doesn't even remember. He was too young. We don't know why she left then. I mean, it could be because she wanted to get rid of them. That's possible, but who knows? There's the two crystals with a myriad of powers. That's terrible. That just says it all, doesn't it? Imagine attacking the image of your baby self. I think we know where the anger is directed. And she was more right than she realized. Why? Oh, we're getting dad. Okay, that is for them. Easy to read that was for their best interest, she thought. This is good. That could be technically correct. Someone really should have explained this to him. You could distance yourself from it a little bit, right? Yeah. Even Garf himself admitted some of that.
本当は覚えていたのでしょ
I don't know how he could be expected to remember anything.
過去が終わりますわね
That's it, huh? I mean, I guess that makes sense. He never really moved on beyond this.
ガーフは
Well, he's just in a void. I mean, what does he
どう
have?
ですの
He's put so much energy into this. He's got to start over. I guess the trial is good.
俺様を必要としてる奴らに求められてることをやりて
I mean, maybe it's time to let that go too. I don't know. I don't know if people really have that many expectations of Garf. I think his viewpoint is compromised, though that would be hard to admit. He doesn't know which way is up. The trial feels good though because it feels like it's up. It's out of this. Just need to get out of this whole thing. Get out of here. Let's just get some motion. Let's get to a place where there's more feedback about the world and life and I don't know. It's just a whole trap here. This whole thing.
思い出させてくれたからだ母さんが俺を愛してくれてたことは
And I think that makes her more initially. I guess that's part of the challenge. Frederica also left. And she says it was for the village. I mean, maybe she just didn't know how to cope with the whole thing either.
シーマさんはリュウズさんのお姉さんなの妹さんなの
ああいやその辺や
Yeah, I've sort of given up on trying to keep it all straight. One of them likes tea.
心配かけて悪かった
Alright, does this mean you're gonna stop attacking everyone for everything?
どうだっつうせいかねえなただ区切りやつけてきたつもりで
All this time, man. It's such a tragedy, having kept that baggage. Was there any benefit of doing the first part of the trial again? I guess for Garf.
様が試練に納得できたのは多分てめえのおかげだ
Huh. this tone. That takes a lot. Alright, this is progress. Yeah, I know.
二度は言わねえいいか
Let it go. You're welcome.
設定うまくやれや大将
Subaru has a lot of patience.
男兄弟ができたみたいな気分なんでしょう
今あいつが俺より年下みたいなこと言った
he feels younger.
ガーフは今年でようやく14よ
Okay. Alright, that makes sense. That's more forgivable then. Fair. Alright, yeah, okay. Yeah, he's not an adult. He's a kid. He has too much power for a kid. That's the problem. Like, if I could transform into a tiger when I was a teenager, that would not have gone well. It's probably a bad idea now.
行くかい
あんまり長いしても
Why does this seem so like Beauty and the Beast?
見るよ
だからほらさっきの
Oh yeah, that happened. I was lost in the emotional danger of the whole situation to appreciate it.
今から終わった後の相談なんて結構余裕あんだねエミリアタン
どうだろう
Just give it your best.
俺とエミリアタンのデート券をかけてもいいぜ
はいはい
Who's the winner of that bet?
車と男に気をつけてね
What is a car?
今一歩のギルティーラウ不安そうな面してじゃ男が下がんぜ大将
I love how he comes in now with the tough talk about manliness.
俺様見ちまった大将がその
Oh, you were spying.
しまった忘れてただってお前が入る流れになるとかけどあれ見て思った
What? What are we talking about right now? Wait, what? I don't want to know. What am I missing?
これが済んだらデートしようぜ
When did he do this? Is this what he was doing when he wasn't on the stool? That
スバルのお団子なす
changes your conception of that, right?
何してるのよ
Yeah, okay. It was for you.
の絶対
Wow, Subaru really saved that one. Okay, I don't think we're out of the woods yet.
やあここ数日は本当に千客万来だね
This is an interesting pairing.
挫折して泣きじゃくっても慰めてくれる男にこびて許しを得る
Jealous. You are jealous. Dramatic.
私の名前はただのエミリアエリオール大森林で生まれた氷結の魔女
Yeah, I think the key to a kid in his heart is just doing something interesting. Like, having any kind of character that is notable, she'll love it. It can be terrible, it can be noble, just not being boring. It reminds me of I think it's Joey Diaz. There's a clip of him talking about, like, I don't care if you lick toes or, like, have a cocaine habit. You gotta have something, man. There is something to that, I understand it.
同じ魔女の悪意になんて屈してあげない
We're owning the witch part.
私面倒くさい女だもの
This Amelia is fun. Nobody can lift a Quain Stone alone. Sure, right, I agree. And you don't need to do it alone. I think in relation to this episode and some of its themes, one way to think about it is it doesn't even need to be other people. Or that is to say, it's not that you're looking to other people to fix your problems or to save you. It's more like sometimes you need to get out of yourself a little bit, especially for people like Garf, Amelia, some of the things we've seen from Subaru, Beatrice, a lot of characters in the show. They're just really wound up and they can't get out of that. Something got in and internalized that was really good and important and critical for them at that moment, given their stage of development, because it probably got them through. You know, it was maybe an apt acknowledgement of some previously unknown danger that needed to be seen, but maybe it got over-internalized or overemphasized, or its reading was too absolute and overreaching, and it needs to be readdressed, or there needs to be some room for it to become more complex and more adaptable. But because it's now entered the very building blocks of your own thinking processes, you're kind of capped out at what you can do from a place of reason. Not to say it's impossible to outgrow that through sheer thought alone. I just think it's very difficult. And what makes a lot more sense is to find things that are bigger than your conception, that are outside of you, that you can't control with your rational mind. Anything that's like objective information or more objective than you, than your own state. And while experiencing that, try to see that for what it is and only what it is, and not what you're afraid it is or what your instincts are screaming at you that it is, or what it means about you and your own identity and how you're a failure, yada, yada, yada. When it goes well, it can be really great people with really great advice, or people who do great things and you appreciate the great things that they're doing, or something about their character that looks stronger than yourself, bigger than yourself. It can be the words of people you don't know, you know, it can be outside wisdom, it can be from books, it can be from people you've never met, but it also could be experience, you know, it can be like just trying to get out of your immediate pattern of life and doing new things that are challenging. Maybe you find out that there actually are terrible, dangerous things out there, but as long as you survive them, in a sense, it's better than the dangerous things of your conception, because at least there's evidence, right? Like at least you're now contending with the real world instead of the demons of your mind. And of course, what you'll probably also find, if you're actively trying to suppress the things that color everything into your previously arrived at negative perspective, is that actually some things will go well and some things are not as terrible as you thought they would be. Not everything is out to get you. People are capable of kindness and goodness. You can succeed at things. Even in the face of an immediate failure, it's not a death sentence, as long as it doesn't physically kill you. As long as you're willing to attempt to at least be agnostic to your pre-held beliefs about how terrible things are. It's kind of a personal thing that has to happen, right? People can help with this. People can create the circumstances that lead to you deciding to do this, but it's still going to be that decision, right? It's like, well, okay, I've had this framework for a very long time. I'm convinced I'm right, but anytime I go out and try to test this in action, again and again, over and over, it tends to lead to the same place. And I also can see around me evidence that this is not the case for everyone. You know, not everyone has a terrible experience in these ways. Is it just luck? Well, here's an example of where it seems to not have been luck. Okay, well maybe then at the very least, I'm doing something that influences it. I wonder what I could do differently. And I wonder if I could maybe suspend this conviction I have that I'm always right about this thing and that I have it all figured out. Maybe I could take the leap, take a huge risk, and allow that things could be better than I'm imagining them. Maybe I'm just holding on to this because I'm afraid of what it would mean if I then had the ability to go out and improve things, because that would be risky, it would be dangerous. I'd have to move from this place that I don't really like, but at least is familiar and comfortable, like Garf trying to impose the walls, even though he kind of hates his life and hates his existence. And I wonder if I could do that with a spirit of not expecting things to go well immediately, because it will take a long time. These are skills that are built over time, and get over the guilt of the fact that I have been so late to try to start building them, because that helps nothing, and the second best time to start is now, etc. And maybe see it as a process and evaluate my feelings of success not on the base state but on my trajectory, and feeling if like I'm actually getting somewhere, if I'm figuring it out, am I learning? Okay, that was a loss. What did I learn from that loss? That went a little bit better that time. What made that go well? What felt good about that? One idea I really love is, we all know how quickly things can spiral downwards. The same thing, the same rate of change can happen upwards. It just requires more. It takes an initial leap, like the initial step, the initial progress is slower because you have a lot more headwinds. There's a lot more momentum to what you're already doing and the way you're already thinking. But it doesn't take much. That turning of the corner, you can't see the corner yet, but it's probably closer than it feels. And I think the initial step is probably just being willing to be vulnerable and letting go of a lot of the things that are traps of your own making. That's how I feel watching Garf, and to a certain extent Amelia. It's funny how quickly Garf's character changed, or my feelings about him changed, when he and the show finally just admit and give him the label of like confused child. It suddenly just snaps into place where you're like, yeah, that's what he is. And the acknowledgement of that is a relief. It's like, okay, yeah, he's a lost child, and understandably so. And now we can sort of judge him on what he does from here, from that state.